One is I want to write a function that will draw a little circle on the screen using the turtle library. Why are we going to make it a function? Because when we've done our turtle programming, we've seen that, it'll draw a shape and it'll go somewhere else and it'll go somewhere else and it'll always leave a line, and you have to tell it each individual step. Like I want you to go forward 50, I want you to turn right, I want you to go forward 40, I want you to draw the circle. Instead, we want to make it so that you could issue a single call and it would draw a circle. So pop open idle. Do file new. Do a save as. Don't save it in your Python directory. Put it in your flash drive or your desktop or something like that. I'm going to call mine one circf for circ function. You can call it whatever you like. So since there were so many A's and B's in the last exam, I'm going to have to make the final really a killer. No, I'm kidding. Y'all are supposed to laugh at that. Ha ha ha. Okay, yeah. All right, so in order to get the turtle to work, we have to add a line to the top of the code that will import the turtle library. And we've done this a couple times before, so you're used to seeing that. Then we want to make a turtle. So t is equal to turtle dot capital T, turtle, parentheses. So now according to our definition, that anything followed by parentheses is a function. Well, that's just a function that makes a turtle. All right, now we're going to define some, and then I set the width of the turtle to 2, so it'll be a little bit wider than it was normally, and I set the speed of the circle to about medium. So t.width 2, t.speed 5. Now let's define our functions. I want you to define 2 functions. I want one function that will relocate the turtle to anywhere on the screen without leaving a line. So in order to do that, we're going to have to execute several commands. We have to do pin up so it won't draw the line as it moves. And then we're going to have to set our X position and then set our Y position. That'll relocate the turtle, and then we can put the pin back down. So how do we define a function in Python? We use the def keyword, followed by the name of the function, and then any variables it takes. In this case, I'm just going to name the variables, the parameters X and Y. And then every function definition has a colon in this language in order to specify the beginning of the code block. Okay, so when we call relocate, what this does is move the turtle to position X comma Y without leaving a line. That's our comment describing what it does. How are we going to do that? We issue a pin up so that we're no longer drawing. And then we do set X, which moves it, horizontally, and we're going to go to the X position that was specified. X position, that sounds weird. And then we're going to do the same thing for the Y position. And although this is not strictly necessary, we're going to reset the heading of the turtle. And the way the turtle coordinates are lined up is, in real life we consider north to be 0 degrees, and then there's 90 and 180 and whatever. In turtles, this is 0 degrees, this is 90, this is 180, this is 270. So when we do set heading 90, it's going to set the turtle so that it's pointed north. Like I said, that's not strictly necessary. All right, we have this function. Let's test it out. I'm going to do relocate 100, 100. And then I'm going to move forward just 10 pixels. And then I'm going to relocate to 200 comma negative 200. And I'm going to go forward another 10 pixels. This is just to test it because I want to see it draw a little bit of a line and then teleport somewhere else on the screen without leaving a line. I don't see that it left a mark anywhere. Because I never called pin down. If you lift the pin and then you never set it back down, it never draws. So the last line of the relocate function, and I'm sorry I missed this, needs to be t.pin down. So go back to your relocate function and make the last line say that. All right, so he drew a little bit. You know, this is the starting point. So he relocated to 100, 100, you know, 100 horizontal, 100 vertical. And then he relocated to, what was our next coordinate? 200, negative 200. So 200 horizontal, negative 200 vertical. So he went down here. Okay, so we're mostly done. But I also want to make a function that will draw a circle at the specified place rather than just a little bit of line there. So I'm going to nuke all this stuff, nuke those 4 lines of code if you've got it working. I don't want to go too fast. Has everybody got this part working?
No.
Turtle object has no, missing an R in forward. Tell you what, you can just type FD for forward and that eliminates the possibility of typos. All right, who else? Everybody got it working? Your laptop's way prettier than mine. We all good? Anybody else? Okay. So how are we going to draw a circle? We're going to write a circle function which uses the relocate function to move our cursor, to move our pin, and then draw a circle at that position. And we're going to make it really fancy schmancy so that you can specify the colors of the circle as well. So I'm going to nuke these. Let's do define circle. And when you draw a circle, what do you need to know? You need to know its X position and its Y position. And you need to know its radius. And then we need to know its color, the color of the pin, and the fill color. I guess we could just shorten that to fill. Nah, I'm going to make it fill color. We can all handle typing that. So what happens when we call circle? What's the very first thing we want to do is to relocate. So we're going to relocate to position X comma Y. Then we want to set our color to the specified colors. So we're going to call the tColor function. We're going to set the pin color and the fill color to whatever the programmer has specified. And again, why are we doing all this? So that you don't have to change the color, you know, with the t.color function every single time you draw a circle. We want to make it so that you can draw a circle with a single line of code. instead of having to do, several lines of code. Set the color of it. Now let's do t dot begin underscore fill, because we want to make circles that are filled in, not just transparent. So t dot begin underscore fill, followed by t dot circle, and we specify the radius. And then t dot end underscore fill. Now I've got all this typed in, but if I run it, it's not going to do anything. Why is that?
You haven't defined that well.
You haven't defined the radius either.
I'm right. The most correct answer would be I haven't called the circle function. I've defined the circle function, but I haven't called it. So I don't have X, and I don't have Y, and I don't have radius, and I don't have color, and I don't have fill color. And the reason I don't have any of that is I haven't invoked, I haven't called the circle function. So down underneath here, stop indenting, because we're done with that code block. And we're going to draw a circle at position 100, 100. We want it to be 50. I want it to have a black pen with a yellow fill. And I'm going to tack on another circle at negative 100, comma, negative 100. I want this to be a larger circle, so I'm going to make it 100. I want it to be red with an orange fill. Sorry, I covered up our screen. There we go. And if we didn't like seeing that little glitch of the circle of the turtle drawn there, we could issue a turtle dot hide command. So I think I'll do that way up here where I'm defining the rest of the stuff, where I do t dot width and t dot speed. I'm going to add a t dot hide turtle. This is not strictly necessary, but it hides the cursor so that we don't have that turtle, stuck to the circle. So if you want to do that, that's fine. Go up to the top, add t.hide turtle. Here's the rest of our code. So what's the real point of this, besides drawing pictures, which is always fun, takes us back to kindergarten, is that now that we have written a function, we can draw a circle on the screen with a single command, instead of having to do all this kind of stuff. Instead of having to specify a position, specify a color, maybe relocate it, Drawing a circle is now as easy as calling one command. And so that's the idea behind functions, is you're encapsulating code so that you can call one thing and it'll run a lot of lines of code. It'll do a lot of stuff. It's kind of like if you had to go and mow the lawn yourself, you'd have to go out to your garage, charge up your electric mower, go mow the lawn, bag the clippings, and then put the thing back in the garage, close the door. Okay, so those are all the steps you have to do in order to mow. Or you boop, 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 call your gardener, please mow my lawn, and then he goes and does all that stuff, and you don't care how it's done. The same is true of a function. We're telling it to go draw a circle. We don't really care how it's done. Once we've written this function, we don't need to mess with that anymore unless there's some change we want to make to it. And in the case of the functions that Python gives us, we can't go in and find out what it's doing. Okay, so there's going to be a little homework assignment that goes along with this, as well as this part. It's going to be kind of goofy. Maybe you'll just grab a sheet of graph paper or something and do it. But what I want you to do is to use this circle command to draw a big smiley face like this. I know, stupid, but that kind of looks creepy. It's like the not Freddy Krueger. What's the name of the one from the Friday the 13th movies? Jason, yeah, that's the Jason of smileys. But anyways, this should not be too hard. All it requires is figuring out the position of these guys and the radius of these things. You know, and if you get anywhere close to it, you're going to get credit for it. It's not like, you know, it has to be precision accurate. But what you'll want to do is probably get some graph paper or something like that, or else just get a drawing program that shows you your pixels, you know. Hopefully that won't be too hard. I don't care what colors you make it, you know, if you want to make a yellow smiley face with black circles, that's totally cool. If you want to make them all psychedelic with different color circles in every one, whatever. No, this isn't a quiz, but it's homework to take home to do. So use this code to draw a face. We're going to write a program just like we did here that'll draw that. Does that make sense? Okay. So how many circles is it going to require? Well, if you draw it exactly like I did, it's going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 circles. One's going to be a great big one, you know. And so for each one, you just have to specify the X position, the Y position, and the radius, and the draw colors as well. So you know that. If you're not remembering your high school geometry and X and Y positions very well, come and talk to me. It's not a big deal. I can explain it to you really quickly. If you can't go to the store and buy graph paper, you can always find some online. Just type in graph paper, click images, and you should be able to find one. Then you just have to decide what numbers you're going to use and how big this thing's going to be. It doesn't have to be huge. Anyway, something like that. Well, that's not very large. Find one, print it out, whatever. Free online graph paper. Wow, there's a lot of weird graph paper. I want to know what graph system uses that one. Those circles.
If you got a cross-stitch graph maker, it's what I use to make patterns.
Pardon me?
I said cross-stitch graph maker.
Oh, yeah?
That's what I use to make patterns.
Cool. I like the name of this site. It says Incompetech. That sounds like incompetent. I work for Incompetech Enterprises. So there we go. By using the top hit from Google when I typed in graph paper, I got something that would generate graph paper, which I could print out. You know, you can handle it. Like I said, it doesn't have to be perfect. Okay, so let's create a Dropbox so we can upload this. Okay, if you refresh your Dropbox, you'll see inclass G. And then our homework assignment will be homework 4. And so the assignment is type in the following code, which you already have, then modify it to draw a happy face, and I'll insert a picture of a happy face like that. So here's the code. Fortunately, you've already got it all typed in. As always, remember to include your name and the date. All right, the next thing we're going to do is go to a site called codingbat.com. Codingbat, and that's like bat with wings or a baseball bat, is a site where you can practice writing code based on little logic problems that they give you. And specifically, this one does Java and Python. Those are the languages that it supports. So go type in codingbat.com. And then way in the upper left, upper right, I'm dyslexic, choose Create Account. Type in an email address, preferably your Rose email address, doesn't really matter. Doesn't even have to be a real email address as long as you remember what it is. The reason you want to do this Create Account thing is it means that you can do work on it at school, and then when you go home and work on it from home, it remembers your status. Give it a password. Doesn't have to be a real complicated password. It could just be the word password, whatever. Or it could be your school password. Give yourself a name so I know who you are. My name is Bruce Wayne. Create account. All right, then there's one more thing you want to do. You've created an account, but you haven't linked it to me. So come up to Prefs, click the little Prefs button, and scroll down to where it says Share To. And you're going to enter my email address, which is jgthompson@rose.edu. So what we did is we went to Prefs after we were logged in, which is the option right next to where it says logged in as your name. Prefs, scroll down to the bottom, Share To, and type in my email address, jgthompson@rose.edu. Now that lets me see how many you've done or whatever. But mostly I'm going to do the honor system. If I tell you to do 6 problems and to tell me which ones you did, then just do 6 problems and either take a screenshot or create a little Word document or something that says which 6 you did. But if I had to, I could go back and check if you do it this way. Okay, once we have done all that, it says back to codingbat home.
Can you put your email
Yeah, sure, sorry. It is jgthompson@rose.edu.
How did we link that to you?
Go to prep.
Right here where it says, when you're logged in, click prefs, just like she said. And then scroll down to the bottom. Type in my name and click share.
How do we know if it's shared?
I guess we trust. I can go in and look. You don't get any feedback saying that it did it or not. But then when I load it up, I'll see a list of names. You know. So for example, I have Cyrus, I have Clark, I have John, Karina. Alrighty. So then go to the main page. And under Python, choose Warm-Up 1. Simple warm-up problems to get started with no loops. And what's cool about the warm-up problems is that they do give you the solution. So if you get stuck, you can cheat. Alrighty. So here it's got 12 problems. And it's like, I think that the first 9 problems are easy and then the last 3 are not so easy. So eventually I want us to do the first 9. But we're going to do a few of them in class. So the first one is called sleep in. And the way this works is it gives you a problem definition, and then it shows you here what the logic is supposed to be if that function was invoked with these parameters. And then when you run it, it gives you a little report saying whether you wrote it right or not. So I'm not going to solve the problem here. I'm going to write something that's total gobbledygook. So then I click go, and it tells me, error, expected and indented block. Now, unfortunately, unlike idle, we can't just hit the tab key because that, just bounces around the browser. So use 4 spaces or something like that. Now again, I'm going to type in something that doesn't actually solve the problem. But this is a function. It takes 2 parameters. I haven't even read this problem, but I'm just demonstrating the hows rather than the solution to this particular one. This is a function that's supposed to return a value. It's supposed to either return a true or a false. How do I know it's supposed to return a true or false? Well, I can just look at this and it shows these arrows and it's got true or false as a return there. So I made a dumb stab at it and I made it return true. I typed go, and the reason I did this is I want you to see the little report. The report here shows you that 3 times out of 4 it worked correctly. Now that was just total blind chance. But it tells you which answers worked correctly and which ones didn't. So this red one, I could figure out, oh, when it was called with true comma false, I returned a true, but that wasn't right. So then I need to come back and I need to check my logic to figure out why I returned a true and why the expected answer is false. So now it's appropriate to actually read the problem. The parameter weekday, go down here to our code and see that we're passing in 2 parameters, is set to true if it's a weekday. And the parameter vacation is true if we are on vacation. we sleep in if it's not a weekday or if we're on vacation. Return true if we sleep in. So in order to know how to do this, we need to know have the idea of if statements, ifs and ands and ors. But what's it basically say? If you're on vacation or it's not a weekday, we get to sleep in. So we're going to return a true under those cases. Else we're going to return a false. And there's always way more than one solution to this kind of thing. So I'm going to take a stab at one solution, which is to say if, I have to tab it, 1, 2, 3, 4. If we're on vacation, colon, 1, 2, 3, 4 to tab, return true. And then back up for return false. Now is this going to actually handle it? No, because it's not using the weekday value. But we're handling the vacation value, so we ought to be pretty close. If I click go, and then I come over here and I check the report, it tells me that I got it right 3 times out of 4. And that I missed it when vacation was set to false and when weekday was set to false. So I go, oh, I need to handle the weekday parameter. Okay. So if we're on vacation, we get to sleep in. But if that's not true, we have to check the weekday parameter. If we're on the weekday, I'm going to rewrite this so that it's a little more clear. If vacation is equal to true. There. You don't have to do it that way, but I think that it makes the logic a little bit clearer first. Then, how about weekday? If weekday is equal to true, do we get to sleep in? If it's a weekday? No, so we have to return false. And if neither one of those things I'm going to use something called elif, which means else if. Elif, colon, return true. Now this will give us the right answer. It's certainly not the only way to write a solution for this. Ooh. Doesn't give us the answer. Invalid syntax, line 8. Well, how do I know what line 8 is? I guess I just have to count. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That should just be else. My mistake. Change that elif to else. I'll show you what elif is supposed to be used for in just a moment. Okay. And there we go. It says all correct. Then notice that there's a show solution button over here. So if you get stuck, you can click show solution, scroll up and see what their answer is. Now theirs looks more complicated. Maybe it's not more complicated, but they use the not keyword and the or keyword, which I don't believe we've talked about. Maybe we did briefly. So I want to make sure, pardon me?
Everything says true is not defined.
Capital T.
I didn't put, I think that's what, oh, wait, never mind.
Yeah, the C and the Java languages use lowercase t, Python used uppercase T just to be unique. All right, so can everybody run this and get the all the green boxes lit up where it says all correct? Annoying language requires T to be true, uppercase, and false. Yep. Every if statement has to be followed by a colon. Not a quote, a colon. Yep.
That's what she does. Sure.
Getting there. And an else has to have a colon. All right.
Okay, I can do.
Let's see, invalid syntax on line 10. Note that it should be lowercase I, but it's telling you, make that, undo that last change. We have to figure out what 10 is. Yeah. Shot. Unintended does not match. Okay, that means that we have to be more careful in that unintentional levels. Right, yeah. And when we use idle, it helps us with that, but you're not getting after that shut for one. Action, vacation.
Okay.
We're working on it. That's why I tend to use single letters in our. Okay, we need a colon here. That is statement. That's not gonna be noticeable, but it's going places. It looks like we went into the Java version. We're gonna highlight all this code and go into the Python. Back out here, Python, warm up.
I have to pick up on, I have to pick up on things for some.
Who else has syntax errors?
I have to take 6 hours for summer.
You're gonna need to tab over the return. So put 4 more spaces in front of that. And 4 more spaces there.
If you just give
And
it
then you need the last thing is the else colon. Oh, every if statement needs a colon, so you need to put a colon there. And then you need to add the last 2 lines, which I scrolled off, sorry. So you need to add else colon return true. Oh, it didn't work for you. You're reading the solution. Okay.
Does it save when you do this? Does that save?
It's saved if you log in. So if you go to a different machine and you log in,
I
you'll
got
see
my
that
shit.
it's done this
This
properly.
one's
Just
the
to
freezers out
see which
front.
ones you've
Let's
done,
go to the
click
front.
on warm up
I can legitimately just make a circle.
and put a check mark next to it.
Wait, that's not right.
So you.
Moving on. Yeah, absolutely. If you get one of these right, don't just wait for me to walk around and check everybody. Go ahead and skip to the next one. Why be bored? Okay, so did everybody get all the syntax errors corrected? I want to talk about a different solution for the same problem using or statements. Misspelling of true. True, yeah. In Java, not Python. So we're going to cut all of this. Don't put it in. Go back up here. Oh.
You can run it on a tablet. It's super easy.
This is how you define the Java
There's
function.
a link to it in the course to it. So it'll take you to the website for Python.
Alrighty, gang. So you can have ands and ors. Ands mean both sides have to be the same, have to be true in order for you to do something. Like in order to determine if you're going to go eat at Red Lobster. One, have a lot of money, and two, I am hungry. So, if hungry and have money, return true. If you don't have any money or you're not hungry, there's no reason to go. So that would be an and. What about if you're trying to decide whether to take an umbrella out? You stick your head out and you look to see if it's raining. If it's raining, you take the umbrella. If not, you turn on channel 9, check the news, and if he says it's going to rain, you take the umbrella. So those would be two conditions. But that would be an or. Because if raining or rain predicted, then return true. So ands, both sides have to be true. Ors, either side have to be true. And we could kind of break this up using and statements. So if vacation, let's use or. If vacation is equal to true, or weekday is equal to false, return true. You don't have to change your code to do this, but I'm demonstrating it. Else return false. Okay, why does that work? Because or means if either this one or this one is true, then do that. So if we call it with sleep in false, comma false, that means it's weekday is set to false and vacation is set to false. So if weekday is set to false and vacation is set to false, let's figure that out. Is vacation equal to true? If we called it with these parameters, and that one was false and that one was false. So is this part true? Did I hear a? No. Because we called it with these parameters, false, comma, false. So weekday is false and vacation is equal to false. So if vacation is equal to true, is vacation equal to true? No, because this function was invoked with false, false, according to the first line. I'm not sure if I'm getting resounding feelings of confidence that we've got that idea. What about this next one? Sleep in true, comma, false. If we pass in true, comma, false, then that means that weekday is true, vacation is false. So now let's check that if statement. Is vacation equal to true?
False.
No, it's not equal to true. So this is not true. But let's check the next one. Is weekday equal to false?
No, it's true.
Right, so neither one of these are true. Since neither one of these are true, it's not going to do that. It's going to return false. So since it's a weekday and it's not a vacation, we don't get to sleep in. We have to wake up early, so we return false. Now let's look at the next one. Sleep in false, comma, true. That means that weekday is false, vacation is true. So now let's check our if statement. If vacation is equal to true, is this true or not?
True.
It is, because vacation was set to true. That means that we return true. We don't even have to keep checking. Doesn't matter whether weekday is false or not. As long as we're on vacation, we can return true. So that's the way OR works. But we didn't have to solve it with ORs, as you saw the first one. Let's do one more. No, we can't do one more. We're done. Alrighty, guys. We're going to pick up on this. Let's set a due date for the smiley face to be a week, so it'll be due Sunday. And in the program instructions, I'll put, a picture of a smiley face that I drew or whatever, and you can try to match it or you can come up with your own. All right, any questions? We will talk more about ORs and ANDs next time. And you can even do this codingbat like from your, doing it from a phone might be a little bit difficult, but if you carry around your iPad or your Samsung tablet or whatever. While you're at the dentist getting your teeth drilled, you could be doing these. No No excuse to not do them. Okay, I'm kidding.